What's up, guys? Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello. On today's episode, I want to talk about how we've got to go slow in order to go fast. And a lot of what I've been talking about lately is about outsourcing and delegating and drawing up processes and systemizing stuff. And I think it's really important because these are the struggles that I'm finding with myself right now, where I'm trying to do so much and saying yes to everything. And literally, it's just piling up. And the more that emails come in, the more stressed I become because I am capped and I've hit like a capacity issue right now where I continue to say yes to opportunities and they keep flowing in. And I'm kind of starting to drown in the number of emails and leads and texts and calls and voicemails. So my whole talk for today is how we've got to slow down and go slow in order to go fast. And how I think that works is I've got to take a step back. I've got to iron out all these processes and maybe delegate a few things, tell a few people no that I previously said yes to, slow down on the opportunities. I think another way is to prioritize my tasks. I've got several people who are looking to purchase houses in the next few months or so. And so if I can kind of stagger them where they're not all trying to buy right now, and maybe I can say, hey, you want to buy in November? Cool, we'll push things off. You want to close your deal in December? Awesome. January of 2021, okay, I'll follow up with you less frequently instead of like letting everyone take all my time up right now, because you can't give everything the same amount of attention because not everything is equal in terms of importance and priority, at least right now in this moment, right? So think of all the things that you have in your business, in your life, or even on your to-do list if you're at a day job or whatever. And what's the most important thing on that list right now? It's kind of like the Pareto principle. There are going to be 2 out of 10 things on that list that are more important than the other 8. And if you were to do those 2 things, the 20% of the things that matter, oftentimes those other things can take care of themselves, or the 20% takes care of the rest of the 80% of the stuff. So for me, my 20% activities is lead generating, bringing in new business, talking to new people about real estate needs, finding opportunities, following up with leads, all those kinds of things. That's my 20% activities, developing content, posting out there for you. And the 80% is all those little things in between, like the paperwork, the emails, checking with the title company, and all these little documents. I need to kind of glance at them to make sure it happens, but I push that over to my transaction coordinator to do most of that. And for you in your business or in your life, we've all got all these little things, right? You could probably name 5 things right now that you're wasting time doing that you shouldn't be doing and that someone else can easily handle. Even at work, sometimes people in other departments will try to push things onto you that is really in their bucket. It's really their task and their problem to fix. And that was my biggest issue. It was actually feedback I got from a manager. I think it's actually on my LinkedIn profile where it says, if Chris had a downside, it's that he says yes too much because he doesn't want to let people down, which may lead to him overextending himself. I'm pretty sure it said something like that. And it's actually true because, yeah, I would say yes to everything. I was a yes man. I wanted to be a people pleaser, make everybody happy, do all these different things. And then I would take on too much, which would result in that cycle of being overwhelmed and not being able to deliver the results that I was hoping to deliver because I get overwhelmed and too stressed out. And I simply don't have the output and the efficiency by myself to make all those things happen. And that's kind of what's happening right now, where I feel like I'm juggling a lot right now and I'm doing a pretty good job. But at the same time, if I were juggling like bowling pins or like, I don't know, if I were juggling like bowling pins or glass beer bottles and someone kept handing me another beer bottle to continue to juggle. And side note, I'm not very good at juggling. I can probably only juggle like 2 at a time, but 3, 4, 5, like that's how I feel right now, where if someone gives me one more glass bottle to juggle, I'm going to drop the bottles and they're all going to break, right? So I don't want all my deals to fall apart. I want everyone to be happy. So far, my clients have had pretty good experiences. I've gotten good feedback on the deals that have closed. But yeah, I'm at that point where I just felt like this evening, I was just like, pissed. I got a couple of these emails. I got a couple of stupid emails from these like fake investors. It's called wholesaling. And I know because I did it before, but I was much more legit than these guys, where they try to submit a cash offer that's like 50% of the price that I'm listed at. And like, I don't even want to reply to it. But at the same time, I'm trying to reply be fair to as many people as possible. But I get so many of these spammy emails that are like clearly fake investors who don't intend to buy the properties that I have listed. They're trying to find another buyer and like daisy chain and stuff like that. And it's just so infuriating when I'm busy and I'm focused and I'm trying to do the stuff that matters. And I'm getting peppered with all these fake offers that are just wasting space in my email, making me like spend a couple seconds or minutes looking at these emails and determining whether or not they're real or fake or whatever. And so, yeah, I kind of was just starting to get bottled up and was like, okay, if one person calls me right now, like I'm going to break my phone. Like, no, I didn't think that. But I mean, I was at that point where I didn't want to answer my phone or anything. And luckily I dropped everything and I had a massage booked, which really helped me to just relax. And literally my mind started to race again, right? It's racing with all the things that I have to do, that I want to do, that I need to do. And I guess need to do and have to do, that's like the same thing. But when I had my phone on silent and face down and I was just getting a massage and kind of resetting, I literally couldn't check my phone. I couldn't answer my phone. And so that helped me to reset and start to slow my mind down, right? Go slow in order to go fast. And I started thinking, okay, what deals are closing this month? Like I've got a deal closing at the end of the month. I have another deal that I'm hoping will close at the end of this month. So I'm thinking like, how do I prioritize? What are the next steps on each transaction that I'm working on? How can I make things better? What do I do about these incoming leads that I feel like I don't have the capacity right now to serve at the right level where they'll be satisfied? Because I know there will be a drop in customer satisfaction right now. I'm just so spread thin that any new clients are going to feel like they don't really get a great experience from me. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not 100% sure. But so far, I've been doing a pretty good job of managing expectations and bringing that to the clients. But as you all know, if you're a one-man show, and I talked about this in the last episode, The Growing Pains of Solopreneurship, if you're a one-man show, there's only so much you can do and the buck stops with you. And if you're not working and you're not pushing your goals and your deadlines further, no one else is really doing it for you. And if you can delegate a lot of that stuff to other people, you've got processes in place and you slowly build a team, it is a very freeing experience when you know you can tell someone to do something and that it's going to be taken care of. And I see this happen all the time. And I remember even in college, this happening to me, where who remembers group projects for those who've been in high school recently, or I mean, I guess any level of school, but I'm just thinking back to college. No matter what group class that you took, there was always, you're always kind of panning the room, scanning the room and seeing who's going to be a good team partner, who's going to be terrible. And on your team, you have two people that are like hardworking, they're on top of it, they want to control the project, they give homework assignments to everyone, they're on top of things, right? You've got another one or two that are kind of like, they show up and they try to contribute, but they're just there because they want to help, but they're not really committed enough to go all the way in. You've got that one person who doesn't even show up to any of the meetings, doesn't answer any of the group texts, and then they show up on the day of the presentation because they want to get a good grade. And of course, luckily teachers caught on to all this. So you have like a form where you can give them a bad review and say like they don't deserve a good grade because they didn't show up at all. And so that's how I kind of feel with everything I'm doing now, where I'm that high performer on the team and I'm trying to delegate things to like personal assistants and VAs and stuff. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's still the weight's on my shoulders. Like if something doesn't get done, or if it's not done fast enough, I just do it, right? If my personal assistant doesn't get to something within like 30 minutes, sometimes she's busy too. I get it. She's got a life. She's got other clients. If my transaction coordinator can't do it, and sometimes I'm like sitting there like waiting for her to do it and she doesn't, and then I'm just like, okay, screw it. I'm just going to fill this in and send it to my client, and it just takes 5 or 10 minutes. But at the same time, I'm like, that would have been 5 or 10 minutes. That would have been great to spend on something else. So yeah, just think about how can you slow down in your life when you're feeling like you're out of control, when you feel like everything's coming at you a million miles an hour. How can you slow down and maybe take some pen to paper? I've got a notebook / journal here, and sometimes I just sit down and I use Sketchpad. So it's no lines or anything. It's just blank pages. And it's really cool because I can draw lines, I can draw pictures, I can draw arrows. It's very helpful for being creative. And if I want to turn it sideways and draw like a process flow, I can do anything I want in this notebook. And I'll just start to write things down like, okay, here's something I wrote down recently. So my current ideal commission income for me right now, and I don't know if this number seems high or low to you listening, but I thought it was a good goal for where I'm at right now. I said, ideally, I want to make $300,000 in commission a year. Like, I don't know. I just picked the number. It sounds cool. Of course, I want to make that be $1 million a year, but like right now, I feel like 300,000. Okay, it's attainable. It's realistic. I can get there pretty quickly with, the pace that I've been growing at with my business. Ideal number of deals per month. So I could do 5 deals a month that are smaller transactions, or I could do 2 bigger transaction size deals, right? So I was thinking 2 deals a month sounds pretty reasonable, pretty manageable without my hair catching on fire. Like 2 deals a month is doable. That would be 24 a year. And so I looked at the required price, this required sales price for me to hit that goal would be a house that costs $416,000 approximately. And so I'd have to do 24 houses at $416,000 in order to make $300,000 of commission a year. And that sounds like pretty reasonable. And so I thought about my strategy, because right now I'm doing a lot of these onesies and twosies and investor products that are 150 grand, $100,000. I have to do way more, and it's way more work. It's just the same amount of work as doing a higher end property, and sometimes it's more difficult to sell. And the way I will compare it to is like, I used to work at Buffalo Wild Wings as a server in the summer. I barely made any money in tips because I was in a slower part of town versus the other side of town that had like higher tipping customers and stuff like that, and just, richer clientele or whatnot. But imagine working at a Buffalo Wild Wings where like the plate order, you have to work really hard. People are getting wings and refills on lemonade, and they're sitting there for 2 hours watching games. And this is, of course, before coronavirus, because right now everything's kind of dead still. But you're doing all this work, getting refills and all this crap, and then the bill is only $30 for like 2 or 3 people. Of course, 15% of that, they're not going to be tipping very much. And even if they do, I had plenty of clients that like didn't even tip. And I can remember this is over 10 years ago. I can remember clients who maybe I took a little too long to get the refill because it was the bartender that took too long, and then I didn't get any tip, right? Versus going to a nicer restaurant where the waiter's still doing the same amount of work, more or less. They're bringing out the same amount of plates. Maybe it's just heavier plates because it's a nicer place instead of on a little cardboard tray, but it's a higher price point, right? Maybe it's $50 a person. You get a table of 10, $500, right? Your commission is going to automatically be bigger. Or not your commission, but your tip rather is going to be bigger. And it also attracts a higher clientele that is more willing to purchase, and you can upsell them, and then they're likely to tip, things like that, versus places where maybe they've got 50-cent wing Tuesday and like 2 16-year-old kids come and they don't really have any money and they leave you like 25 cents for your change. So that's kind of how I'm slowing down in order to speed up in my own business. How can I stop taking so many of these lower price point listings, maybe turning them down, referring them out to other people to deal with them, and focus on higher price point? Like maybe I just refer everything out that I don't want to deal with, and I just deal with the higher price point stuff. That way I can focus on, the higher price point clients. They're easier to work with. They're less picky. They know what they want. They've shopped for a house before maybe. And so that's kind of how I'm starting to get more strategic about where it is that I want to go. Instead of saying yes to everything like I always do and I'm guilty of doing, I'm starting to say no more again. And at least I need to start saying no more. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Hope this is helpful for you. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment if you're on YouTube, or make sure to subscribe if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of that good stuff. With that being said, have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much. I don't think I made this too long. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys on the next episode of the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. See ya.